This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com. Welcome to the Triple Option. Here's your host, Paul Catalina.
Alongside Steven Simcox, Locked on Horned Frogs, our Wacky Wednesday guest.
That's a throwback, yeah. Not sure that segment.
We're gonna do yeah. We're gonna do like FM, like morning talk radio, like Wacky Wednesday.
Do some sounders.
Yeah.
Here's some stories I found online.
Yeah. Of course we know a lot of people who did that. And like it's a very now thankless job to like get up in the morning and like, get your little show prep sheet that you sign up for a service so it can help you because it's 5:00 in the morning, and then be like, hey guys, all right, let's talk about Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce.
Can men and women be friends? Call us at 254.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I don't know how people like not in the business can understand how like soul sucking like caller number 12 is, where you're like, nope, sorry, caller number 5, and you're like, just go
to the next one.
Go on down the line.
You're not it. Hey, we got our winner.
Yeah. And like, just at the end of like all right, now coming up, here's Chumbawamba with Tub Thumping. Remember this one, guys? All right. And you hit the button, and then you're like, I was going to be Howard Stern. It does not work out. So
telling your program director, like, have you listened to Conan's podcast? That's kind of what I want to do.
Yeah. Like, no.
Nope.
No, we're it is wild. I don't know, like that is going to be like one of those things that you hear, like it's going to be like sold at Cracker Barrel now. Like when you go in and like you can hear the wacky 80s and 90s morning DJ.
Old radio days.
Like as opposed to like old Superman on the radio broadcast and Howdy Doody. It's like wacky morning jock.
We used to have to interview some musician who would come in for a 2-day residency at Waco, and we just talk to him about the music that they did.
Yeah. I got to do a couple like cool ones with that. But like sometimes like they're musicians and they're there in the morning, and you can tell they're like, all right, I am contractually obligated to be here by my record label.
People are awake at this time of day.
So please ask easy questions. True or false? You were singing tonight. Yes.
I just kind of strum around on this guitar for like 2 minutes, and then you guys throw it to break.
Yeah, please. It is. We were up very late last night doing very regrettable things, and now I'm here. They do it. Look, and I said like they do that with comedy too. Like the comedian comes into town. They have them on like morning TV.
Yeah,
and it is never like really the appropriate place to do it. But the comedy clubs bought that time, so they're saying like, "Hey, can you go promote your show on the air?" And then they're like, "All right, zany man, coming in here."
Yeah, there's some pretty good T.J. Miller, who's a crazy person. He would go on some of those morning shows and just do insane bits and just wreck the whole thing, which was pretty funny.
Oh, Sam Morrill, who is one of my favorite comics now, absolutely destroys morning television people. It is, oh man, like you could tell, and immediately. The other thing is sometimes they clearly haven't like YouTubed him to know what's about to happen.
Yeah.
So they're like, which they totally should, and he'll just rip them, or he'll just create a bit, and then they're like, all right.
Moving on. How long do I have to do this?
So tonight at the Improv, what, 2 shows, 8 and 10? Is that what we're?
Let's speed this thing up.
Yeah. Who's your favorite comic? So anyway, Steven, it is the Christmas season, which is the time for miracles. I learned that from Die Hard.
Correct.
Christmas Theo. It's time for miracles. So what was your Christmas miracle?
Have you done all your shopping yet?
Yes, I'm done.
Okay.
I'm done. But I don't have children.
Yes.
So I just have to buy for adults, which you don't have to get many gifts. You get like some, moderately priced things, and you move on. My wife is a very diligent Christmas shopper. We're usually done December 1. Okay. Like sometimes it spills off if like we see something like, oh, that would be good for your mom or your dad or whatever. That's good. Let's throw that in the bag. But
I am mostly done. And now I will say this: my wife handles most of the shopping for the kids. So that meme that's like me as the dad and my kids being surprised at what they got, that's totally me. Like I'm gonna be like, oh, this is what you guys got for Christmas. That's great. But Friday, we took all our kids to here in Waco, the Mayborn Museum. They have like a little outside area with some lights and different activities. So we go there.
And your kids range in age from
7 to 1.
Okay, yes.
So our 7-year-old, our oldest, Bradley, he goes up to Santa Claus, and we have already gotten him everything that we're going to get him. And he tells Santa Claus he wants a PS4 for Christmas. We do not have a PS4. We don't have any gaming systems in the house. Bradley's never really shown like an interest in video games.
Well, he's also he's just now 7.
Yeah,
so
he's still kind of young.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of like,
well, good, and it's good that he hasn't found out that there's a
PS5. We're a few models ahead, but he hasn't quite figured that out. But I'm like, all right, well, maybe that was just kind of a one-off, thing. All weekend, he's just like, if somebody asks him or if it comes up, oh yeah, I want a PS4, and I'm just like. It's not even so much that I couldn't find one in time. It's more, in my mind, I'm like, do I want to spend money on this and then get it? And then within 2 weeks, he decides like.
Oh, he meanders into a friend's house that has a PS5 and he's like,
oh, yeah. Or he just decides like, I don't really want to, it's not my thing yet.
Yeah.
And so he told my neighbor about this. So, like my neighbor, he was very nice, saw Bradley riding his bike and asked him what he wanted. And he said he wanted a PS4 for Christmas. And so my neighbor the other day is like, hey, my son has a PS5. We have a PS4 here.
Oh, wow.
I'll just give you the PS4 if you want it. And I'm like, okay, this is great. This totally solves my problem because now I can have it.
Yeah.
And I'm already in my mind thinking about I can start playing video games again.
Yeah.
But I can have it. We can play games together, and I don't have to worry about how much is spent on it or whatever.
Yeah.
But now I got to figure out what games I need to start Bradley on because I don't know like what video games are appropriate for a 7-year-old.
Yeah. I was always just mainly a sports games guy.
Yes. I'm definitely going to get Madden.
Yeah. We're about to have college football again, which is
Great.
the greatest news in the history of video games. Jack's a gamer. He may not totally agree with that, but I know he loves that game. But I think the greatest news in the history of video games is that, we were lost and now we're found.
We are. We can make Kent State a dynasty again or whatever we want to do.
Exactly.
It would be great if I had any trust in EA, but that's a whole other conversation.
Yeah. So, and look, at least we're at step 1 of coming back.
Yeah.
So
we have the legal grounds to do it now.
Yeah, exactly. Which, guess what? We'll talk about the legal grounds to do things
later on in the show.
Later on the show, we're going to play What's Your Favorite NCAA Lawsuit?
You went to law school for a little while, right, Paul?
No.
Okay.
No, I did not. Much to my parents' chagrin.
Gotcha.
They really would have liked that. So
we all found our path.
Yeah, we did. They thought actually, I think one of the things they thought when I moved back here, because I was going to go to grad school or I was thinking about grad school, is that they could push me into that.
Right.
Because I do have maybe a talent for that kind of thing.
I could see you being a lawyer.
Yeah, I could do it. Here's why I can't be a lawyer. I hate paperwork a lot. And that job, especially since I've gleaned from Suits, is a lot of paperwork.
It's not as glamorous as is on television.
No, but even Suits, they show you the cool part, but here's what I always notice is when they show when they come in and throw a folder across the table, that folder's full of paperwork.
Right.
So to get to that cool moment where you walk in and tell the guy oh, you can't sue me for this because of these things I found out. Mm-hmm. The middle part of that you don't see off screen is the paperwork. And that's what would have gotten me.
Or my friend that's a lawyer, his job is basically many of the cases he works is helping people get out of contracts.
Yeah.
So he's just reading contracts all day.
Yeah.
I mean, he comes up with cool ways to go about it and he's good at his job, But
And there's
essentially
people who love that. Like
Yes, yes.
oh, this is
it's like a puzzle and you got to solve it.
Yeah.
But essentially he's just reading contracts all day. Like it's not as rock and roll as you would think.
No, it's not. And so that was the thing. Like the other thing is that like I remember like finding out like sometime in my 20s that like not every like trials are kind of rare. Like even though there's a lot of trials, like as far as all the legal cases that are out there,
Yes.
they're a very small part of it. And that's where I think I would shine. I'm a performer after all.
Can I just be a trial lawyer? Just sub me in when it's time to go to trial.
Yeah, like
You guys handle everything else.
yeah. You listen. You tell me my lines. And I'll get up there.
What objections are we trying to work with here?
So, but yeah, no, so no, it's we're gonna play that later in the show. What's your favorite NCAA lawsuit?
NCAA lawsuit.
Yeah, because there's one pending today that might change the transfer portal immediately. Like immediately, if Raekwon Battle wins his case today, which I have not checked in the last hour if that's happened. I assume they've broken for lunch and that they're probably coming back to kind of wrap things up. But if he wins today, then that means that all the people who've applied for waivers are eligible to play right now. So that would be something else, especially considering that rule didn't even make it a year.
Yeah, that's pretty wild. And the amount of like roster, the way that would affect roster construction will be super interesting. Well, I'm in a much better mood this week, Paul, because my 5-7 team decided to make a change. They did something.
Yes. So, Stephen, Joe Gillespie, it was, to some TCU people I've talked to, a bit of a shock that it happened because, he did a good job a year ago.
Yeah.
But I think part of this was the availability of Andy Avalos. Andy Avalos was available, and Andy Avalos was interested in the TCU job, which means that, like, okay, do we have a problem at defensive coordinator? Maybe a little. Well, do you think we can solve it with Andy Avalos? Yes. So let's just go ahead and make this change right now. Plus, if you're Sonny Dykes and you look 90 miles down the road, the last thing you want to do is be in the position that Dave Aranda is in right now, where it's you make these changes and we'll see how they go for a year. And then if they don't work, then clean house.
The timing of it was really strange, but I mean, they hired Andy so quick that it wasn't like they had a 2-week search after 2 weeks of trying to make a decision. And to this point, I mean, we'll see what happens over the next few days and after spring ball too. To this point, though, they haven't really had anybody leave. They've actually had a couple commits come on board since this was announced. So I feel like this is something that's been in the works for a little while. And you're right, the Andy Avalos availability situation made it a much easier choice. But I honestly think Sonny was ready to move forward with this staff as constructed. But after giving up 70 points to Oklahoma in the season finale, it just kind of felt like, okay, something has to give here. And Avalos has been a head coach in the past. Tenure at Boise didn't end well, but, I mean, he did a nice job his first 2 seasons there. He was an OC at Oregon, so he's used to being paired with an up-tempo offense that might put his defense in tough situations. And he's aggressive, which is much different than Joe Gillespie from a philosophical standpoint. So I'm honestly kind of surprised. I mean, I didn't know that Sonny – I didn't know if Sonny could go pull a defense coordinator with that kind of pedigree. And the fact that he did, I think, is encouraging. So we'll see what it looks like in the new look Big 12. But on paper, it seems like a home run hire, at least from a resume standpoint.
Oh, I think it's a great hire. Look, he's not only aggressive, but he's very multiple. Like it's going to be a lot of different looks. So I would say this: it might be one of those years where like the defense has these like ebbs and flows of they have a game where they're like, oh my god, they got 7 sacks, and then another one where they're just like, oh, we're lost out here because we're still learning the system. And because of the way that rosters move around now, right? You don't have like 3 years in a system necessarily with some guys. Like they have to learn fast. I think that's another interesting thing about the transfer portal. How fast do you think this guy, like, oh, he fits our system. He's been playing out of position at this one. He fits ours, but let's hope that he can pick it up quickly because we may only have a year with this guy. Yeah. And so I think that's good. So Joe Gillespie, I know, was complained about by TCU fans this year because nothing really went the way that TCU fans thought the follow-up year was going to go, and it started with, Chandler Morris has never recaptured the magic from that Baylor game he played where he was Johnny Football for a day.
It really is mind-numbing. I mean, he toasted a legitimately good Baylor defense.
No, I mean, he toasted the legitimately best Baylor team ever.
Yeah.
The best season in their history, he ridiculously toasted them. That had Jalen Petrie and Terrell Bernard. And, one of them might have been out that day, but, that's neither here nor there. Sure. But, I think Bernard might have been out. But and I may be wrong about that. Gary Bohannon got hurt in that game and pulled his hamstring. And then that's when the Blake Shapen era kind of, opened up a little bit. But it's like he took an elixir. And then, the wizard who sold it to him disappeared. The Zoltar machine was gone, and he and his buddy couldn't find it anymore. That was it. And he was always just kind of a guy. And then, Josh Hoover had his moments, but, and that was on the offensive side of the ball. They didn't click on the offensive line like they thought they would, but the defense was probably the bigger problem in the long run, wasn't it?
Well, I mean, the defense coming in, and they had 7 returning starters, so the expectation was all right, year 2 of the system, they'll be ready to rock. They're going to play great. They, of course, didn't play well against Colorado, and then they had ebbs and flows all year long. I think the biggest issue was, he was very married to the 3-man front, didn't want to bring a lot of extra pressure, and I get the idea behind it is, all right, let's keep things in front of us. Let's not give up big plays. Let's make stands in the red zone and keep teams out of the end zone. But they weren't even doing that. I mean, they were bad situationally in the red zone. They were still giving up explosive plays. So if you're going to play that system and you're still not limiting those things, then it doesn't really make sense to keep you around. But I'll also say, I think this year that's going to shift a little bit. And bottom line is, Sonny Dykes is an offensive-minded coach. That's what he's supposed to be about. The offense also failed at times this year. And if him and Kendall Briles can't get that going and moving forward starting this season, then I think that's going to be long-term health of the program much more concerning because this is what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to be able to score points, and maybe you got a defense that's not, a world beater, but if they can stay in games and force field goals, then you feel like you should have a good chance to win.
Yeah, look, and modern defense has to be different. You have to have different expectations. Yards given up is the most pointless stat anymore. It's about and it should have always been about points. And red zone defense to me is the number one stat. Can you hold teams to field goals? When you get sure you might give up a big play, and I'll just use my favorite team as an example. That's their bread and butter because they are super aggressive on defense. And if you watch the Louisville game, they had a couple times where they gave up big plays. But when it came down to, are you going to let this team get across that stripe? They're like, nah, we're good. Inside the 20-yard line, I'm not sure they can out-athlete us or out-scheme us. We're going to have people ready to go. And so I think that's the key. And Andy Avalos has a very good history of that. A great run at Oregon, great run as the DC at Boise State, when he was there. So he's had great runs as a DC. And then, just a downturn this year in the middle of the year for Boise State, which they let him go and then kicked up. So it makes it look worse when you fire a guy and then win the conference. But I don't think it doesn't change my opinion of him, especially as a defensive mind at all.
It sounded like he's an intense guy. I think his mentality and intensity sort of wore that team down a little bit. And then when he left, they had some more motivation. But, he's not going to be asked to lead the charge completely and be a CEO now. And I feel like it's also a guy that Sonny Dykes can be like, hey, defense is yours. Go take care of it. That's your thing. I don't really want to be involved with it. I'll step in if I have to. Yeah. But I would be totally fine with not really having to wonder that part of the building too much. And if you guys got it handled, I'll just stay out of your way.
Yeah. And he could, potentially with Kendall Briles, kind of have that situation where he can be the true CEO coach. And because you really do have to get that to that point now where, here's our game plan. Here's what we're going to do. I'm the one who's putting these two parts together. But ultimately, you guys need to come to me with having this all worked out because I have to spend time raising money for our NIL collective and facilities and,
Yes.
glad handing that, used to just happen in the off season. Or right after games at a dinner if it wasn't a late kick, Oh, hello. Thanks for coming out to the game. Big win today. All right. Thanks.
Give us your money, please.
Thanks for helping us build this new thing. Yeah, Here, I'll tell you a great story about when I was a player. So those things are kind of over. So, I love the hire for them. I think it's going to be really good. I think that staying the course with Kendall Briles for a year and letting – genuinely get guys used to how he wants to do it compared to how Garrett Riley wants to do it. And again, there also weren't a lot of the same guys that Garrett Riley was doing it with.
Yeah.
Right. They've already, Imani Bailey's on his way to the draft. So they're going to kind of have, and it'll be also interesting to see what they do transfer portal wise on both sides of the ball, especially at quarterback and getting some guys in that Andy Avalos probably wants on defense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They're going to have to get some, the safety position, there has to do a lot in this defense, especially covering in space. That wasn't really their strength. So I imagine they're going to have to go that way. And then I don't really know who on the roster right now makes sense as an edge rusher. Of course, at Oregon, he had Kayvon Thibodeau, who that guy was pretty good. They don't have anybody like that. But if you could get someone who can rush the passer off the edge, that'll be a big plus. And I'm not sure they have that guy in the house right now.
No, well, probably not. But, you never know. Look, there are, hold on, I'm counting. These are just the transfer portal commits today around the country. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. There's 11 from today, and it's 1:21 Central Time. So they're starting to pour in. But yeah, the most interesting one to me is Jamori Macklin. North Texas, he's going to Kentucky.
Oh, nice.
Yes. So he'll be playing with Brock Vandegrift and Raymond Cottrell, who was at A&M and is also now at Kentucky. So they're reshaping that roster there for Mark Stoops.
He was like, hey, remember that time I tried to leave?
Remember I was the A&M coach for 1 minute, or my agent told everybody I was.
and all the Aggies said, no, thank you.
That might be, the shining moment of his career where his agent, foisted Kentucky for some extra money. Although I think Mark Stoops is a good coach. I don't know why A&M fans were, and that's one weird thing. I don't know why they were so mad about that. Like, we don't want Mark Stoops. We want a head coach with pretty much exactly the same record and style as him.
Yeah, Mark Stoops did a nice job at Kentucky.
Because he lived here for 3 years. How's Mark Stoops going to know where the good Whataburger is? We don't need a guy learning that on the fly.
There's too many responsibilities now in college football.
Yeah, where's he going to get his car fixed? He doesn't know. Mike Elko knows. These are details we need a guy to know right now before he gets in here. All right, when we come back, favorite transfer portal, most interesting transfer portal reclamation project. Now, there are guys who are not reclamation projects, like Cam Ward's not, Will Howard's not, guys like that. Grayson McCall just committed to NC State. I would not say he is.
Oh, wow. I didn't notice that. Okay.
Yeah, he's one of the 11 so far today. Grayson McCall to NC State. So, but who is? Who are the guys you think could maybe turn it all around if they're at a new spot? This is the triple option on 365 Sports.
If your business is like most, you need things done quickly. But if you're still tying your critical applications together on multiple shared public networks, you've probably been feeling the slowdown. And that's no good for business. A private UPN fiber network can get you and your business moving at the speed of light. Whatever you need, we can build it. Internet, Metro Ethernet, Waves, dark fiber. We deliver custom private networks and are focused on business customers only. Our next generation 100% fiber optic infrastructure offers you low latency and ultra scalable bandwidth with speeds up to 100 gigabit to run your critical applications. Your connection won't be limiting your performance anymore. It's diverse and scalable, so it can grow and change as your business grows and changes. And with a secure carrier-grade private network, you'll have all the reliability you need. Contact UPN today to learn more. Fast just got faster.
This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com. Welcome to the Triple Option. Here's your host, Paul Catalina.
Alongside Stephen Simcox, Locked On Horned Frogs. And Stephen, there are a great many people in the transfer portal, 1,450 to be exact. 155 of them have committed so far. One of my favorite things to do is to look at the portal quarterbacks in particular, because a lot of guys are portal reclamation products. Like, there's guys who've been playing out of position or not in the right system or not in the right spot. But quarterbacks are the ones, like, usually in this cycle that there are guys who have, for example, like Jeff Sims, who's not had a great career at all. He's been injured a lot. He's turned the ball over a lot. And, Nebraska couldn't have got him in there fast enough.
Right.
Which was I immediately regret this decision moment for Matt Rule. Although he's had a great week and is probably about to land a very good portal quarterback and a 5-star legacy quarterback there.
Seems like Nebraska might have some money to spend.
Yeah. I knew that, like, schools like Nebraska, like Miami's throwing some money around. Yeah. I mean, Cam Ward was there last night eating dinner at the most expensive restaurant in town with Rick Ross. So, and, I think Rick Ross has offered him like a Wingstop NIL deal, but.
That's a pretty good deal.
Yeah.
I love Wingstop.
Yeah, me too. Wingstop, sponsor us.
Please.
Yeah. But, and we'll see if he even, stays there or not. But are the reclamation projects, the ones who are guys who maybe had a good year and then 2 bad years or whatever, they're kind of on their last spot and they're, they're moving on. And you think, well, if they give them the right coach, then maybe they can find that again. It's very rare. Like, you kind of, who you are as a junior is kind of who you are going to be as a senior. But there are examples of guys who have found a better spot or
figured it out,
traded up, figured it out. So, Stephen, we'll let you go first. Who did you have in mind?
So this might not be the best example because I struggle to call this guy a reclamation project. He actually had a really good season. But to hear Ohio State people talk about it, Kyle McCord was, the piece that was holding them back this year, right? Like, that was kind of the one part that wasn't working. And I know he's not going to have Marvin Harrison Jr. To throw to his next stop. But I think he was impressive this year. Like, he handled the offense well, didn't play extremely well against Michigan, and that's, the game. That's the one that they have to circle each and every year. But I don't feel like he hurt that Ohio State team.
He had 1/3 of his interceptions in that one game.
Yeah.
So he had 6 all year. He had 2 in that game. So until that point, like, I think the problem with Ohio State fans and Kyle McCord is they got really spoiled by the fact that the last few guys who were in there were superb athletes.
Yes.
And Kyle McCord is your kind of stereotypical old school Ohio State Craig Krenzel-esque quarterback. And in their minds, they've moved past that point. They've upgraded to a faster car, and they're not going to drive an SUV anymore.
But if he ends up in Nebraska, right? Like, Matt Rule plays good defense. I think he's a guy that could help you play complementary football.
Well, he doesn't turn the ball over, which is their huge problem at quarterback.
He doesn't turn the ball over. He can run the offense. He's not going to have those same skill guys, but he can make throws. And it feels like the perfect kind of bridge to if they end up landing Dylan Raiola, the 5-star, and maybe he just blows you away in fall camp. But if you need him to sit for a season or most of a season, I think Kyle McCord's the type of guy that can get you to, I mean, it sounds silly to say this in Nebraska, but bowl eligibility and beyond to where you're winning 8 or 9 games in the Big Ten.
I totally agree with you. Look, and you're going to want a veteran in there so that Dylan Raiola, even though he may think that he's good to go, like, doesn't have to be necessarily good to go. And Kyle McCord can be, he's got 1 year. So, like, it's not like you're going to be sitting him in front of Dylan Raiola for two years or more. Like, it's going to be him. It could be a very Dylan Gabriel, Jackson Arnold type situation at the end of it, which worked out well for Oklahoma, you know. So, you know, I think that's a good one. I'm going to throw out, Tyler Van Dyke, who's going to Wisconsin to play for Phil Longo in that offense with Luke Fickell. But he was really good 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Really good. And then he's been mostly injured the last 2 seasons. And then at the end of this year, he just turned into an absolute turnover machine. Mm-hmm. And so if somebody can fix that, because he's got plus arm talent, he looked like he maybe had Miami on the upswing, but they just didn't. They're not that, they're just not that yet. And so I think him at Wisconsin will be interesting. We did not get to see a lot of Tanner Mordecai there because he got hurt in the Iowa game, and then I think he was banged up a little bit before then too, and was playing through some stuff. So, it didn't work out for Wisconsin the way they wanted it to, because they thought Tanner was going to be their quarterback this year, and then they could go to, Braden Locke and the other guys that they brought in. What's the other guy's name? Whatever his name was. All these kids from Texas that they brought in.
Sure.
And then none of that really worked out for them. So now you get Tyler Van Dyke, and you can maybe try and restart that plan. Mm-hmm. But, sometimes you're just broke, right? And so hopefully that, they can fix those problems that Tyler Van Dyke has, because he's 6'4", 229, laser cannon arm, a ton of talent, all the things that you would write up in the book if you were an NFL scout. But the fact that he gives the ball away way too much is not a good thing.
Wisconsin had a pretty good run for a while at QB. When was the last time that they had a true, more than just a serviceable quarterback who was kind of passing through?
Golly, it's been a long time. Scott Tolzien, yeah.
Was he post Russ? Was he after Russ?
Yeah, and Russ was just passing through, right?
Yeah, he was just a 1 year rental.
Yeah, and that was because NC State let Mike Glennon's parents talk him into being like, "Hey, it's ridiculous that he plays baseball in the summer." Yeah, nah. Got the head coach fired, as a matter of fact, for that decision. Mike Glennon's parents he should be starting because he's here. He's good and all, but you seen this guy? He's pretty special.
This guy's pretty solid. Yeah, he might end up being an NFL quarterback.
Yeah.
So QB wise, Riley Leonard yesterday makes the shocking announcement that he's going. He's going to Notre Dame.
It was such a well kept secret.
Is this? And we talked a little bit about this off the air. Is this just a new thing for them? Are they just going to be 1 year veteran portal guy? Leonard's got a little more time than that, but
I think he's probably only going to be there a year. But yeah, so because if he does well, I think he has 2 years left. But if he has a good year at Notre Dame and gets him in the college football playoff,
he'll go to the NFL.
He's going to go to the NFL. He already again, he's built like an NFL quarterback. He's super athletic. He's got a really good arm. He's not necessarily that prolific a passer, but they weren't asking him to be at Duke. So yeah, I guess we'll see. But yeah, no, I think if you're a high school quarterback in general, you just have to know. Wilson was the year after Tolzien. Thank you, Jack. Okay. So Tolzien, Russell Wilson, and then it's been
some dudes,
a revolving door of guys
that hand the ball off
to gigantic running backs and
stand behind a big offensive line, make a few throws.
Yeah. Who was Travis Frederick's quarterback? That was probably Tolzien, or that was probably Russell Wilson for a minute, and then the start of the parade.
Right.
Those dudes. But yeah, I think if you're a high school quarterback and you expect 100% to play your whole career at the place you committed to now, you are probably not living in reality.
Well, and I was thinking about this the other day. Are we at the point now, Paul? It's silly to say everyone, but 70-80% of schools have to take one portal QB, whether it's a guy that is going to compete or at least be depth.
If you are the way the market works right now, you have to take at least one portal QB who's either going to be your starter or a depth piece, and one scholarship QB every year. Mm-hmm. You have to, because and look, if this is going to get back to where it was, especially with quarterbacks, if Raekwon Battle wins this, and the NCAA can't make any kind of rule to stop one-time transfers or to stop multi-time transfers and, regulate that fits within the laws of these United States of America, then, like it's going to happen even more. So developing a quarterback is going to be tough. You're going to have to get somebody who really buys in to the idea that, like, okay, maybe I'm not going to start until I'm a redshirt sophomore, my third year. But that would be like really pushing the envelope, right?
Yeah, well, it's tough to think future too, because you just like if you fail, you don't know how long you're going to be at a certain stop. So coaches can't really think in the idea of like, well, maybe in 2 years we'll be really salty.
Yeah.
And Will Howard's a super interesting guy to me too. He's not a reclamation project, but kind of gets pushed out by Avery Johnson at K-State. It's sort of hard for me to imagine him at like Miami, but I know that's he
and Cam Ward and Dante Moore all visiting there.
Yeah.
So and they all kind of different stories,
styles,
but
stories.
Miami just needs somebody who can win at that position there, which they have not had. Here's another one that's interesting. I think Blake Shapen and like he is not as much of a fixture-upper, I think, as much as a lot of people would say. I think one of the things you have to do to help Blake Shapen is not get him absolutely killed.
Yeah.
And because he's not like – this was kind of an interesting position for Baylor to be in the last couple years. You have a smaller type quarterback like you did with Charlie Brewer, but your offensive linemen don't keep people off of him. So then you're like, well, he got hurt in the first game. Well, yeah, he had hit like 11 times before halftime. Like, did you think he was going to feel good?
Right.
Did you think he was going to walk up and be like, man, this is awesome. I didn't realize that this much contact was allowed in this sport anymore. So
Blake's been playing like 80s football for the past 2 years.
Yeah.
Nobody else is. They're talking about like the jacked up highlights have been banned, and Blake's like, I don't know what you guys are talking about. I'm getting my bell rung every week.
Yeah. You know how many times I've spit up blood? I don't either. I've lost count. It's been so bad. So, no, but if you can move him into a system that's going to protect him a little bit better, get the ball out a little bit, be able to get the ball out a little bit quicker than he was, all of those things will be better for him. Will Rogers, who is leaving Mississippi State, did not have the best year this year, coming off like an elbow injury.
Yeah.
Zach Arnett made kind of a puzzling decision to like completely change what they were doing on offense and not go with just a leech guy and roll it through. And he was, he's a fantastic defensive coordinator, and he'll be a defensive coordinator somewhere else. But he was kind of a glorified interim coach, ultimately, when it gets down to it, because of when that happened and how that happened, and where people were emotionally in the middle of it. But Will Rogers going somewhere, like I know that Washington's been rumored for him or other places, but Will Rogers for a year, I mean, the dude was setting all kind of records in that offense. Like, if he's healthy, then that's another, fixture-upper I think I would consider.
Another guy that I guess I shouldn't talk about because he's not officially in the portal, but KJ Jefferson is super fascinating to me if he makes that decision.
Yeah.
Because he had a really rough year. Arkansas did in general. But, I mean, he's got a skill set, right? Like, it's running downhill. It's a lot of that. But if you can use him effectively in the run game and then give him high percentage throws off of that, I feel like, especially if I know he wants to stay in the SEC, but I believe, honestly, especially if he was able to get out of the SEC and get somewhere where.
Well, I'll tell you where I thought he should go right off the bat, just because I kind of think that where they are, like Miami's a lot of like they can roll Rick Ross out there and everything, but Mario Cristobal can't prove to you that like this is going to work out for you.
Yeah.
So if you're Cam Ward or Will Howard or like, so if you're Will Howard and Mario Cristobal saying like, listen, I promise you this will work out better for you than going to USC with the guy who's coached all of the recent Heisman Trophy winners.
Tough sell.
He can't do that, right? You'd have to really want that money, or like, especially if it comes down to, like Miami might get a guy like Cam Ward or Will Howard over another one of those schools that's better off right now than they are, because, and not that USC is like really, dripping gravy right now. They're
they're coming off a year where they underachieved.
But as far as like, if you're a quarterback,
but offensively, yes, there's no better mind. Like just from play calling, put you in a position to succeed.
Yeah, it's Lincoln Riley.
It's Lincoln Riley.
That's the guy, right? So, if you want to win and make money, like if you want to win and make a little less money and do this, but if you want just a big paycheck, I think that's where Miami is right now because they're so desperate to get a quarterback. But I think that if KJ Jefferson got in the portal and say, Cam Ward goes to Ohio State or Florida State and, DJU winds up somewhere else, and Dante Moore goes to Michigan or Ohio, and Will Howard goes to USC, then if you're Miami and you're going, hey, what the hell, man? Like, we thought we had something going here. Then if KJ Jefferson gets in the portal, I think that's a guy who in that offense with that offensive line could do really well. Mm-hmm. So, and give you that bridge year that you need.
Well, especially too, I mean, you talk about the paycheck. I mean, you're not going to tell him this because this is not part of the pitch. But if he's thinking about it, and maybe he's not, but like, I'm probably not an NFL QB, right? Like that's most likely not my future. Maybe I can make a roster. But if I can get a nice little payday to play one more year of college ball and then sort of bridge that into whatever type of professional career I have afterwards, then that could be an appealing thing to him.
Yeah, no, and I think where some schools are, do you feel good enough about the rest of your roster where you could spend half that money on a quarterback that's going to win the exact amount of games that you want, or are you just going to tell a kid we'll give you whatever you want, please come here, we're desperate. And the thing is that desperation is a stinky cologne, man. So maybe it works out for you, but sometimes you should be like, well, maybe I take a little bit less than I win here, and I'm better ready to go to the NFL because they have better linemen, they've got better skill players, I'm going to look better here. If you're Cam Ward, it comes out of Ohio State and Miami, and Ohio State's offering a little bit less than Miami, I think you're going to make that up in the long run as opposed to, kind of a very unproven situation there down in Coral Gables. So.
Grayson McCall to NC State is really fascinating.
Oh, I think he's going to fit really well in the ACC. That was a really good team without consistent quarterback. MJ Morris played 4 games, took a redshirt year and then went in the portal. And then, Brandon Armstrong was in and out of it, and they had a really good defense. Grayson McCall's better than all those guys. And so, he should step in. He's going to be scary in the ACC next year, I think.
Yeah, that's a huge win for them. I mean, that defense is salty, as you said. If they can start scoring points consistently, then, you're talking about a conference-style contender.
Yeah. I'm still curious as to why he didn't leave a year ago. What happened there? I think there was some, transcript issues or something like that happened. I don't know. Those are all rumors and all that. My theory is that he was all but signed, sealed, and delivered to Auburn. He's a super religious guy, Grayson McCall is, and then he found out that Hugh Freeze is, fake religious.
Yeah, maybe not his best leader there.
Yeah, oh yeah, no, I'll talk about religion all day. I'm gonna tell you, but and then hey, why did you have to go to Liberty? What was that in the first place? I just
Sometimes you pick up the wrong phone.
Yeah. No, we talked about it yesterday with Royden. Does Hugh Freeze not know about burner phones? Did nobody tell him?
He didn't know Houston Nutt was coming for him.
Yeah, that's true. He didn't know that there was a dude out there that Houston Nutt could hire that would just sit in a room and check what phone numbers were what for days and days on end.
He didn't know Houston Nutt had a good lawyer. That was the problem.
That's true. When we come back, we pick our favorite NCAA lawsuit. This is 365 Sports.
If your business is like most, you need things done quickly. But if you're still tying your critical applications together on multiple shared public networks, you've probably been feeling the slowdown. And that's no good for business. A private UPN fiber network can get you and your business moving at the speed of light. Whatever you need, we can build it. Internet, Metro Ethernet, Waves, dark fiber. We deliver custom private networks and are focused on business customers only. Our next generation 100% fiber optic infrastructure offers you low latency and ultra scalable bandwidth with speeds up to 100 gigabit to run your critical applications. Your connection won't be limiting your performance anymore. It's diverse and scalable, so it can grow and change as your business grows and changes. And with a secure carrier-grade private network, you'll have all the reliability you need. Contact UPN today to learn more. Fast just got faster.
This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com. Welcome to the Triple Option. Here's your host, Paul Catalina.
So, as we begin, pick your favorite NCAA lawsuit. Well, we have one that's been granted a temporary restraining order for 14 days. West Virginia Judge John P. Bailey granted a TRO, giving West Virginia's Raekwon Battle eligibility and paving the way for more suits from second-time transfers seeking eligibility. This is from Ross Dellinger, among many others, but this is Ross Dellinger, who will be on our show at 3:30 today. The NCAA will likely appeal. A full hearing is set for December 27th, which is 2 weeks from today. In his ruling, Judge Bailey did not specify that the order was for Battle only, lifting the year-end residence restriction on all multi-time transfers for 14 days. He tells the NCAA lawyers that the organization cannot make an athlete sit out a year. Clarifying also, the judge ruled that the NCAA cannot enforce bylaw 12.11.4.2, meaning they cannot penalize schools later on for playing transfer athletes during this period, so they can all play right now, and they're going to appeal this. I cannot tell you, Stephen, how bad of an idea that is, because they are not going to win.
We're like 0 for 90 now, and like the NCAA has just been getting it handed to them in court.
Yeah.
For like the last, for a long time. But
for a decade now. Starting with it, like if we had the awards, I told you before, they'd be the O'Bannon Awards. From that point on, like the NCAA's defense against these things. And the thing is that I do like what Charlie Baker did last week when we talked about it, is like admitting that things are different now, right? Mm-hmm. So things are not the same anymore. So if we're going to not be the same anymore, let's try to create a structure that keeps us out of court constantly, because like outside of Donald Trump, I don't know if there's anybody getting more billable hours than the lawyers of
the NCAA.
Like
and they're not winning.
Yeah, they're not winning. Like they're not winning at all. And it's not like these lawyers. Here's the other thing that people need to know is that there might be, in some cases, you might get bad legal advice where you have a true believer on your side that's like, no, we're going to win this thing and do that. But most of the time you hire an attorney because you're trying to get out of something, and they're going to argue the case to the best of their ability and to the best of their ability within the letter of the law. But like, if you're wrong, you're wrong. Like, right. And so you can't.
We'll give this a go, but.
And so the NCAA doesn't have bad attorneys. Like, they're not rolling out there with, James P. Albini. Jack maybe gets that reference. James P. Albini? Yes. That's the Michael Scott's lawyer from The Office.
Oh, okay. Man, that's a deep cut. I love The Office. I didn't even get that one.
Yeah, there we go. So, but yeah, they're not rolling out there with that guy. They didn't just drive past the bunch bench and be like, free consultation. Yes, I have been injured in an accident. Absolutely. No, that's not what they're doing. They've got very high dollar, very well qualified attorneys who are arguing the case on behalf of their client, but they also know that like, hey, you guys are going to keep hitting this landmine of the laws you make are in conflict with the laws that every other human being in America gets to follow.
Right.
So, you and I could have I had a job in college. Mm-hmm. I could have endorsed something in college.
Sure.
If somebody thought that I was good enough to be an endorser for a product, and this dumb kid here at telling jokes for 25 is going to endorse our soda pop, then I could have done it. Florida State couldn't kick me out. I would have been eligible to go to history class, but because of the weird rules that the NCAA set up, that their athletes weren't, and that's because they were taking that money. And there was a time where all of this made sense because there was not money, there wasn't billions of dollars flowing into the industry,
and you got an education, you got a scholarship.
Yeah,
that was
that was the trade-off. But when your coach also drove just a slightly better car than the kids did, then it was all right. But when the coach is buying a second lake house, you're like, hold on a minute. There's more money in this. Yeah. When they read the news, they're like, oh, this conference, you can't, oh, how much money did we make from selling a video game? That, why don't we get like my pictures on that? What do you mean I don't get any money from that? That's me.
Yeah. Or Nick Saban's got a dip cup in a Ferrari, in his Ferrari.
Yeah. So yeah, there's no like, there's no, it changed, and the NCAA refused to change with it. Right. And so that's why they're in this position right now. I know we haven't picked our favorite NCAA lawsuit, but like I think they're probably going to lose this appeal. And then they're probably going to have to go back to the drawing board, which they've been told by multiple people, like including, I think it's the president at Central Michigan right now that's like, look, we got to change this rule because we're just going to lose. So like we have to find something that makes sense where, we need to limit the multi-time transfers somehow, but we can't be arbitrary about it. And where they really got in trouble here, where it really started to hurt them, was when they just started saying no to everybody for any reason. And they're like, well,
yeah, what are we doing?
What are you doing? And what really hurt them at the beginning was that they made the rule retroactive. So there were guys already in the portal thinking that they were going to get to go somewhere and play right away. Mm-hmm. And then the NCAA said, no, this rule is retroactive to 3 weeks ago. And you're like, well, I was in here beforehand.
Right.
You're not going to let me play? Like, no, we're not going to. And you're like, well, why would you not just start like as of May 1st this year? That's when the rule is. Mm-hmm. Not retroactively, because then you're like, hey, there's videos of like Deion Sanders telling you to go get in the portal. And then we changed this rule and you're like, well, I was told to leave.
Yeah.
And now I can't play because you changed a rule. And like, you saw the video. The guy told me, I'm not good enough for him.
Yeah, I got luggage coming in. Yeah.
I'm not Louis. I'm Samsonite. I got to go where they need a Samsonite. That's what it is. So
what can they do that would make sense to make a distinction between the 1 and 2 time transfers? Is it?
That's a huge question, right? Like, how do you, because everybody, like all these people are saying hardship waivers, part of this is also where collective bargaining comes in. That's the thing that's going to make sense, but then it's not as easy as it sounds. You should be like, okay, you 18 to 23-year-olds are a union now,
Well, that's the thing. It's like one thing that came to my mind is instead of taking away eligibility, could you do something where you have, you already have windows, but could you limit like, all right, first time transfers, you get the first window. So you get priority. And then if you're a second time transfer, you can still go, you can still be eligible, but you might be at a disadvantage because you have to come in after spring ball or whatever the case may be. Yeah. But then again, you have to bargain because if you don't have some sort of agreement, you just decide, well, this is not, I didn't agree to this. This isn't fair. I'm going to go sue, and then you get in another legal battle.
And Raekwon Battle cited like mental health as the reason he wanted to transfer, which is fine. But also his lawyers, and he argued on the stand today that if the NCAA does not let him play right away, and he had an NIL agreement, which is an employment contract, they are now restricting his right to work, which is illegal in all 50 states. So you can't because now they're saying, well, okay, we can't let him be an endorser, which we know it's not necessarily that, but that's technically what the contract is. So this company wanted him to be the face of their company and endorse their product there in Morgantown, West Virginia. Well, now
it only works if he's playing.
It only works if he's playing because, as many basketball fans as there are at West Virginia, if you don't see him play, you're not going to go eat at the restaurant that he's endorsing if he's never, helped you beat a team. Right. So he's never hit a big three against Kansas State. He's just an idea to them right then. So, I don't know. And we'll ask Ross later on the show to how does the NCAA think this is going to go when they appeal, given how everything else has gone?
So we're in kind of like a Zeke situation now, or that year that Zeke was getting suspended by Roger Goodell. They would just hop from judge to judge to try to get a restraining order so that he could continue playing. Yeah. And then the NFL would counter and appeal. So I guess he's got a 14-day window now, and then they're hoping to get
everybody has a 14-day window. So if you are in any sport, have a waiver like a multi-time transfer, suit up, buddy. you're in the game, which is great news for the players and probably great news for the coaches. But it's bad news for the NCAA. And look, the coaches want the transfer rule amended not because they don't want to take transfers, but they don't want to have to recruit their own roster 365 days a year. That's where they have to find something in there. And I do think if you start giving money directly through the school, then this can also help, because then you can be like, all right, here's the money from the school. Like, here's the money you're going to get. Like, here's the here's an NIL collective that can help you find endorsements. We're going to pay you this much money. It's a base salary of $45,000 a year or whatever, which is better than almost any kid that's 18 to 22 in America gets.
Definitely is, yeah.
Yeah. If somebody had told me, like, when I was in college, like, hey, we're going to pay you $45,000 a year to do something that you want to do anyway, I'd have been like, what?
Well, why am I still going to class?
Well, you have to go to class too, but we're still going to give you give you that deal. Like, awesome.
Sign me up.
Yeah. Oh, and you can go make whatever other money that you can go scrounge up, and we're not going to stop you. But like, this is awesome. Are you kidding me?
College is the best.
Awesome. Yeah. Do I have to live in a dorm? I can afford not to live in a dorm? Awesome.
I don't have to make ramen on a hot plate anymore unless I want to.
I don't have to wear flip-flops in the shower. That's a weird thing, having to wash soap off of a flip-flop. You remember that?
Yeah.
You can't really see that on the screen. Doing the little...
There's not a drunk person peeing in my closet except for me, maybe.
Yeah, that happened to me. That happened to me. So and that was in a house, not in the dorm. But yeah.
Well,
yeah. So it can happen anywhere. That one's not.
It's not just exclusive to dorm living.
No. So no, I think there was a time where the NCAA could have just changed their rules when they lost the O'Bannon case. It's been like, look, we got to change everything right now. Otherwise, this is going to be really bad, and we're going to have to pay a kid that's not worth it $75,000 a year to be the backup left guard. Just so.
Well, they didn't see the future.
No, they should have seen the past, because in the days before scholarship limits, think about Rudy. Okay, remember in Rudy where he had that guy that was also on the team with them that was like, I had scholarships to 3 Big Ten schools, but I'm a legacy here, so I had to come here.
Yeah.
Well, that's because Notre Dame had, you had unlimited scholarships. Bear Bryant used to, give scholarships to guys to come to Alabama. Because you're kind of locked in at that point, just so they wouldn't go to Auburn. Right. Oh, well, you're not going to Auburn now, are you, buddy? So you're here, oh no, you're never going to play, but you're also never going to beat me. So I'm good to go.
Win-win. We both win.
Freshmen don't play, right? Freshmen were ineligible, so you're on the freshman squad. Well, good luck. Yeah, my life is great. So you would have seen that happening, where you're going to have alumni and coaches and people there's so many cooks in the kitchen where you're like, hey, this kid wants 100,000 to be here. Like, well, you're not going to start for probably 2 years. We've got a really good guy in front of him. Well, we don't want him to go to our rival. I mean, somebody's going to go there, well, you might as well. We can't have it. Like, okay, I guess we'll give it to him. I mean, he's pretty good. And then for 3 years, he doesn't play, and then he transfers anyway. And you spent $300,000 on this guy who, came in because the guy had a hamstring pull for 3 weeks, So yeah, it's none of this is sustainable. None of it's sustainable. It's like all, we're watching the world burn right now, and nobody has a fire hose at all.
We're in the middle of the Big Short. That's what we're
yeah, we are. That's where we are. Well, Stephen, you will be our last show before
all right.
Christmas next
break,
week.
Let's
go. So more than likely, we may have another one after that. We'll probably have to pre-record that one, given how the week's going to go next week. But Stephen, it's always great to see you, and congratulations on your Christmas miracle.
Thank you, Paul.
Yeah,
thank you, Jack.
It doesn't always work out that way.
No, it doesn't.
You could have been in a real Jingle All the Way situation.
Run into Walmart at 8 p.m. on Christmas Eve.
Yeah. Well, he didn't let this go.
Where's your PS4s?
They're like, they're all gone. We we only sell
Christmas Eve.
Yeah, we also only sell the new. So, it's 2023, right? Let me show you. That's on my phone. It's on the internet. So, no, but enjoy. I'm trying to think of what game, kids like Minecraft, right?
Yeah, Minecraft.
Minecraft's probably one. Or is that an Xbox one?
I'll have to go find out. I don't know. It's been a while since I gamed.
I don't know. I'm not with it anymore. Is Duck Hunt available?
Pong.
Miss Pac-Man. All kids love Miss Pac-Man. That's what I know. It's universal.
What they're talking about, yeah.
Not regular Pac-Man. He's a misogynist. Miss Pac-Man.
Very progressive children.
Yes. She's got a bow. That's why she's different. All right, that's going to do it for us. Again, Ross Dellinger on the show at 3:30, so that should be interesting. Recapping us on another just terrible legal day for the NCAA and a great day for billable hours for their attorneys. So I'm sure they're going to be at the Christmas party next week. Like, we'd like to thank once again the NCAA. We've now opened an office in Chicago and New York.
We have an ice sculpture here just because.
If it keeps going, LA in 2 years. Thanks to them and their just unwillingness to bend. You guys are all getting bonuses and a timeshare in Key West. All right, that's going to do it for us. This is the Triple Option on 365 Sports.
If your business is like most, you need things done quickly. But if you're still tying your critical applications together on multiple shared public networks, you've probably been feeling the slowdown. And that's no good for business. A private UPN fiber network can get you and your business moving at the speed of light. Whatever you need, we can build it. Internet, Metro Ethernet, Waves, dark fiber. We deliver custom private networks and are focused on business customers only. Our next generation 100% fiber optic infrastructure offers you low latency and ultra scalable bandwidth with speeds up to 100 gigabit to run your critical applications. Your connection won't be limiting your performance anymore. It's diverse and scalable, so it can grow and change as your business grows and changes. And with a secure carrier-grade private network, you'll have all the reliability you need. Contact UPN today to learn more. Fast just got faster.